would you like to do the Mangala? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Will it be possible for you to do the Janashalakaya?
Chakshurumilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Shwapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you very much, Soni Mataji, for reading the Mangala Charan, reciting the Mangala Charan so beautifully. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for giving your precious time and making yourself available.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 19. And the text for today, Prabhuji, is text 29 and 30.
Great.
Prabhuji, I can hand over to you.
Yes, I can share the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I'll just chant, say the very sincere Shuddha yesterday. Please chant after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, Hare Krishna, everyone. It's good to see you all. I hope you all had a lovely Radhashmi over the weekend. I think some people celebrated on Friday, some on Saturday. I observed it on Saturday. I listened to many lectures about Srimati Radharani, so it was very inspiring. So we are reading from two verses.
Celebrated it on Saturday as well.
Oh,
and
great.
We celebrated it with devotees from the center. So we were all at the center and we really celebrated. We did the kirtan, and then the Abhishek was the highlights of the whole thing. And we sang lots of special songs for Radharani.
Yes.
We did a little bit of dance, and then we had the Mahaprasad. So
yes.
It was
they say the prasadam on Radhashmi is the best, you know. So I miss being at the manor because we used to have a great feast there. So anyway, I've been to my dream is to go to Rashana on Radhashmi, because that would be an amazing experience. Okay, so I will, because we're reading from two verses, I will just say the Sanskrit of verse 19. Verse 19. So is it? So did you say verse? It's 29, isn't it? I've done the wrong verse here. Sorry, I got confused there. So I will say the verse 29, but then 30 you can repeat with me. So I'll just quickly say this, okay? Sa Vishnu Rato Tithaya Agataya Tasmai Saparyam Tasmai Saparyam Shira Sajahara Tato nivrita hiya abudha striyor rebhakta mahashane sopo vivesha pujita. Maharaj Parikshit, who is known as Vishnu Rata, one who is always protected by Vishnu, bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Shukadev Goswami. At that time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Shukadev. Receiving respect from all, Shukadev Goswami took his exalted seat. Purport. On Shukadev Goswami's arrival at the meeting, everyone except Srila Vyasadeva, Narada, and a few others stood up, and Maharaj Parikshit, who was glad to receive a great devotee of the Lord, bowed down before him with all the limbs of his body. Shukadev Goswami also exchanged the greetings and reception by embrace, shaking of hands, and nodding and bowing down, especially before his father and Narada Muni. Thus, he was offered the presidential seat at the meeting. When he was so received by the kings and sages, the street boys and less intelligent women who followed him were struck with wonder and fear. So they retired from their frivolous activities, and everything was full of gravity and calm. Okay, so now we will do the proper pronunciation. So I will say it. Okay, just make sure I get the meter right. Sa samvritas tatra mahan mahiyasham.
Sa samvritstatra maham mahishya sam.
Brahma rishi, Raja rishi, Deva rishi, Sangai.
Brahma rishi, Raja rishi, Deva rishi, Sangai.
Vyaro chatalam Bhagavan yatendur.
Vyaro chatalam Bhagavan yatendur.
Graharksha taranikare parita.
Graharkshataranikare parita.
We're going to word for word. Sa.
Sa.
Shri Shukadev Goswami.
Shri Sukadeva Goswami.
Samvritaha.
Samvritaha.
Surrounded by.
Surrounded by.
Tatra.
Tatra.
There.
There.
Mahan.
Mahan.
Great.
Great.
Mahish Yasham.
Mahish Yasham.
Of the greatest.
Of the greatest.
Brahma Rishi.
Brahma Rishi.
Saint among the Brahmanas.
Saint among the Brahmanas.
Raja Rishi.
Raja Rishi.
Saint among the kings.
Saint among the kings.
Devashi.
Devashi.
Saint among the demigods.
Saint among the demigods.
Sangai.
Sangahi.
By the assembly of.
By the assembly of.
Vyarochata.
Vyarochata.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Alam.
Alam. Able.
Able. Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
Powerful.
Powerful.
Yatha.
Yatha.
As.
As.
Induhu.
Induhu.
The moon.
The moon.
Graha.
Graha.
Planets.
Planets.
Riksha.
Riksha.
Heavenly bodies.
Heavenly bodies.
Tara.
Tara.
Stars.
Stars.
Nirakarai.
Nikarahe.
By the assembly of.
By the assembly of.
Paritaha.
Paritaha.
Surrounded by.
Surrounded by.
Translation. Shukadev Goswami was then surrounded by great saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. In purport, in the great assembly of saintly personalities, there was Vyasadeva, the Brahma Rishi, Narada, the Devashi, Parshuram, the great ruler of the Kshatriya kings. Some of them were powerful incarnations of the Lord. Shukadev Goswami was not known as Brahma Rishi, Raja Rishi, or Deva Rishi, nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, or Parshuram. and yet he excelled them in respects paid. This means that the devotee of the Lord is more honored in the world than the Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of a devotee like Shukadev Goswami. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, everybody. So we've just read this very short but two beautiful verse and purports on Shukadev Goswami's arrival. And it was very, you know, sometimes like in the material world, you know, in our lives, we think quantity is greater than quality, you know. So we naturally translate this over to our experiences when we're reading scripture. If the purport is not lengthy, then we think, oh, there's not much substance to it. But Prabhupada didn't write much in this purport, but there's so much in this purport. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, most of the verses, they don't have purports. The verses themselves are self-explanatory, but they're packed with so much nectar. So I was just thinking about this concept of quantity and quality. So quality is more important than quantity. You know, there's some other aspects, even in our material life, we can apply this. So I want to I was very inspired by this verse, because it's about a saintly person has arrived, and it's such a great, wonderful, important situation that even the demigods, even the great sages, even incarnations of God have arrived on the banks of the Ganga to hear the great devotee Shukadev Goswami. It's so important that a chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam of the 19th chapter has been dedicated to this. The 19th chapter, so that, you know, there's a chapter dedicated to this for the arrival. So, you know, every morning in ISKCON temples, when we chant the Guru Pranam mantras, you know, we chant that we're suffering in the material world, we're full of anxiety, full of stress, so much is going wrong, so much pain we're suffering. But then it's explained that when the spiritual master comes, just by being in his person, just by hearing from him, just by thinking of him, the problems that are happening in the mind, they just vanish. They're solved, or they become minimized. Because if you think about it, all our problems are our perception of the problem that originates in the mind. So the spiritual master, by his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering. One can overcome these mundane, these minor material problems. They're not great. They're not big in the grand scheme of things. So Shukadev Goswami has arrived, and all these great personalities have just come there. They're all great in their own rights. Srila Vyasadeva, especially the Srila Vyasadeva who compiled the Vedas and who wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, in this age is Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas. He's not a jiva. He is a form. He's an incarnation of Krishna. He's actually God, but he's the literary incarnation of God. Parshuram is a Shakti Avesh avatar. He's an empowered. He's a powered personality who killed the Kshatriya kings 21 times over. Narada Muni is also an empowered personality. He's also a Shakti Avesh. There probably were more other personalities that are not mentioned. You had all the different category of devotees, all the different category of Gyanis, or everyone you can think of had arrived. The most prominent, because two great personalities are there. The great Raja Rishi, the Parikshit Maharaj, who is the king of the world, because at that time the world was called Bharat, and you know, and everyone followed Vedic culture, because it's explained in the Bhagavatam in the Vedas. And he is about to die in 7 days, and he's come down. So it's such an important situation that everyone had to come, because he's the one who protects everyone. He's the one who makes sure dharmic principles are followed by society. And then Shukadev Goswami came. Now, it's very interesting, because in the purport explains that there are great personalities from different planetary systems who are much more intelligent than us, probably materially. There's also more spiritually qualified people there. there's also the incarnation of God, but Shukadev Goswami comes. So Krishna, because we are jivas, we have independent free will. Our devotion is determined by our mood, which is a proper execution of our free will. So Shukadev Goswami's devotion is so great that it purchases the Lord. So great personalities, great authorities, they basically become subordinate to it. So we see that even Vyasadeva, who is the father of Shukadev Goswami, he sat down. And he's God. Narada Muni, who's a great devotee, he's this, he travels all over the universe. He can go in and out of Vaikuntha. Even he comes down. Obviously, we know that Shukadev Goswami pays respects to them because they didn't bow down to him, but he took their blessings. And it also explained that he had his peers there. He shook their hands, he embraced them. So they've all come down to witness it. So this means that a devotee's love for Krishna can be so great, it can even surpass even God when he plays the role of a devotee. So this was a very amazing thing. So, we chant in the morning, we pray to the spiritual master, please remove obstacles. And I remember when I was in London recently, so my spiritual master was there and he was giving classes. So I attended a few classes. And I remember just being stressed because, where I live, I mean, there's devotees here, but it's hard to associate because of my lifestyle, I'm more used to the UK system setup. And because I had regular association there. And I was I was feeling a bit sad about that. But when I came from the spiritual master, all these problems just went. Things that I already know that were in the back, but in my memory that went at the forefront, they came to the forefront, and I was invigorated. I was inspired by being in his association, because that's what the spiritual master does, So we pray this because and we can all experience it. We've all experienced material anxiety and material stress, but when we come in the association of our spiritual master or a great Vaishnava or even a devotee, it has a transformative effect on our consciousness. It inspires us to be a devotee. Why? Because it creates auspiciousness. Auspiciousness is to remember Krishna. It inspires us to chant Hare Krishna. It inspires us to read Prabhupada's books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, listen to Prabhupada's classes, go to the temple, do devotional service, preach, and have satsangas, and distribute prasadam. Inspires us to do this because the devotees remind us of the God's life. So, it's a very powerful thing. When a Vaishnava comes into our presence, it inspires us. Now, there are different categories of Vaishnavas. That's a fact. Okay, there's the senior Vaishnavas who are more spiritually advanced. There's our peers. There's our juniors, and we associate with them. We show respect accordingly. Now, we can also look at this in our normal Indian culture. Even in some Western cultures, they do this. So when someone's older than us, we show respect to them. We respect their position. We don't speak to them. We don't get over familiar. Someone who's our peer, we show friendship to them. We exchange our knowledge. Someone is younger than us, we show compassion to them. We try to teach them. So these things also happen in Krishna consciousness. When we see an advanced Vaishnava like our spiritual master or a devotee who's accomplished in his spiritual life, we go and show respect to them. We try to render service to them. We try to learn from them and so that they can inspire us. Even from our association, because peer association is also very important. A peer association is our friends. We exchange our realization, our experiences, our challenges, and they also cut us, because sadhu means to cut, is to cut our false ego. So that's also very important for us. And because then we can relate to them on an equal level. Then with our people younger, we're meant to inspire them. We're meant to show them the way to progress in Krishna consciousness. We're meant to show them love and compassion. So we have to associate accordingly. Now, I've also seen, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, I was very surprised to see elderly people have a spiritual master younger than them. And because I was coming, from an Indian background, I was very shocked to see this, because I was so conditioned by Indian culture. And then through my training and through my realization, I really understood that spiritual advancement is not based on material position. It's based on your spiritual qualification. how you know, because we see that you know, like a person can make generally in Vedic culture, if you know, in traditional Vedic culture, there's Varnashram. As a person gets elderly, he becomes more God conscious, but we don't live in that time. So now a person can practice spiritual life when he's very young and make rapid advancement, and he can come to a higher platform. Obviously, there's something called Maryada. It's not that the person who's spiritually advanced expects younger people, older people to show respect to him, because we have to also maintain that. So, like, we see that even Prabhupada, he followed that principle. When he saw people who were elderly, he would speak to them as an equal. If he saw his senior God brothers, he would say, "This is my senior God brother. He's my Siksha Guru." So we need to know the science of how to associate with different categories of devotees and how to show respect. Otherwise, we commit offense. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what category of devotee, every devotee is special and it invokes auspiciousness. Just one young devotee could say to you something very minute, very simple, but it has a profound effect. You know, I remember very many years ago, I was with Geshe Maharaj when he wasn't initiated then. We were distributing flyers outside some London universities. I think it was 1999 or 2000. And, you know, him and I were fellow members of Pandavasena, we're the same age group. And he said, and, you know, there was a time where a lot of us didn't wear dhoti and kurta, especially the guys, because, you know, we didn't feel comfortable. Whereas for women, it was very easy to wear saris. And I remember him saying, and it's not that I haven't heard this before. I have heard this statement before, but he said it to me. He said, you know, when you wear army clothes, it makes you feel like an army person. It changes your consciousness. So when you wear dhoti and kurta, it changes your consciousness. It makes you feel like Krishna consciousness. Now, I've heard that from Prabhupada, and it inspired me. But when I heard it from him, you know, he wasn't a bhakta and he wasn't a initiator, nothing. But it had such an effect because he had such knowledge, he had such realization, he had such devotion behind it, and it inspired me. I remember going to Vrindavan and seeing children doing Dandavat Parikrama and Govardhan, and that was so inspiring for me. And I was thinking, I need to do this. You know, I'm still somewhat young. I should be able to do this. So every devotee is special. Every devotee in some way will remind you of Krishna, especially the advanced devotees. So I think I'm not sure which person. I think it's Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj or Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. He said that if anyone chants the name of Gauranga, I want his association. Imagine a great Mahabhagavad devotee and a super advanced devotee saying, if anyone chants the name of Lord Chaitanya, I want his association, because his intention, his mood is correct. And by being with that person, it inspires you to surrender to Krishna, and it creates auspiciousness. So like I said last week, Parikshit Maharaj has set the example and he's created a situation where Shukadev Goswami can come, super excellent devotee of the Lord, to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, which will benefit the whole world. And so when a sadhu sangha happens, this is the whole point. It creates auspiciousness. It inspires everyone to advance. And, you know, Parikshit Maharaj, you know, remember, he's the most important material person in that planet. Even the demigods know who he is. You know, sometimes, you know, everyone in this world knows who Joe Biden is because he's the president of the United States. Many people may not know, many people know who Narendra Modi is. Many people may know Rishi Sunak from the UK. But I don't think the demigods know them, because they're not teaching. They're not on the level of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was known by everybody in the universe. You know, Narada Muni, who's a spiritual sage. He's like a spiritual astronaut. He goes all over the universe. He came there to listen. And these personalities advanced. Narada Muni has met all the incarnations of God. He's gone in and out of the spiritual world. Even he came to see Shukadev Goswami. In one perspective, he's more spiritually advanced, you could say. But even he came because he wanted to be inspired. He also felt I could also learn. So it's not that we can't learn. We can learn from any devotee. So I remember I remember hearing that in Mayapur, the two twin brothers, Pankajangri Prabhu, Jananivas Prabhu, they would be in every Srimad Bhagavatam class where it was possible. And if a junior personality was giving class, they would take notes. Imagine these two great personalities who have given their life to worshipping Radha Madhava, Nrsingadev, and Panchatattva. They've been there for 40 years in Mayapur non-stop, and even they would come to class to learn. That is how powerful it is, because those words are not coming from that devotee. Those words are coming from Krishna, because Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, What does he say? He says, knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness comes from me. So everything a devotee says about Krishna is not coming from his false ego, it's coming from Krishna. Krishna is inspiring that devotee. Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. When you become more advanced, I give you the knowledge by which you come to me. So Krishna is giving his knowledge. So we can learn from any devotee. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was a great personality. He had a high position. And, there's many people in this planet who are very materially qualified in different spheres. But that is based on their karma. And in the previous life, they were probably in a lower position. So this, it doesn't, so material position means nothing. But just one act of devotional service they do leads to auspiciousness because they take off from the next life. So Krishna says there's no loss or diminution on this path. So just by hearing, just by doing something, it leads to something. I was remembering one of my friends who's is my godbrother actually, and he does past life regression. And many devotees have gone to him for healing and chakra cleaning. And he was telling me the story of he was doing past life regression with one devotee. And that devotee remembers flying, being an insect, flying in a swamp, in some sort of swampy land, coming into a building and coming to an altar and diving into this sweet rice and eating it. Now imagine, he remembered it was so vivid. It was so like, he remembered everything. And then now he's a devotee. So now we don't know how many lives that happened after that. But just that act of devotional service led him to become a devotee. We hear of, we hear of like animals performing devotional service, like the mouse that went into the altar and his tail caught on fire and he started jumping in front of Lord Vishnu. And the way he was jumping, it was like he was doing clockwise type of arti type of thing, because with his tail he's using as arti. But that inspired that pleased the Lord, and the Lord blessed him, and he went back to Godhead. We hear in the I believe it's I'm trying to remember that Nrsimha Puran. It talks about Prahlad Maharaj in his past life. He had an argument with a prostitute, and they argued all day. And that day also coincided with Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And because he fasted, he got spiritual. Unknowingly, he became a devotee. So just that act. Now imagine these acts are performed unknowingly, but imagine someone inspiring you to do those acts. How great is that? Knowingly performing devotional service. We know that when we perform devotional service unknowingly, agyata sukriti, we accumulate spiritual credits. And the more we accumulate, it overwhelms and helps us to turn to Krishna. But imagine performing devotional service knowingly, with knowledge, with love, with a focus. It's very powerful. So this is why this is such an amazing thing. So devotees help us to do that. And like we also, and this is the very important thing that Parikshit Maharaj, he sets that example, that he creates a situation, and Shukadev Goswami Maharaj comes. He also sets an example, the way he shows respect to different personalities, the way he associates, and the way he speaks for the benefit of all. So, and like sometimes we read the Bhagavatam and we think, or we read scripture, we think, these great devotees were in scripture. They don't exist now. These personalities don't exist. They had mystic siddhis, they can go to different planetary systems, but mystic siddhis or the material things are not the sign of advancement. Someone said to Prabhupada, show me a magical trick, because there were these yogis coming from India, they were showing all these magical tricks. And Prabhupada said, because I'm paraphrasing, Prabhupada said, here is the magic trick. Here's the magic. I changed these ugly ducklings. He's referring to his disciples who were hippies, who were doing all sorts of obnoxious, horrible things, into beautiful swans. I transformed into devotees. How? By the practice of Krishna consciousness. Isn't that magic? You change the person, you've made them better, you've given them a purpose, and they're living life. They're completely detached from material life. They're completely attached to spiritual life. And the reporter, or the person who asked the question, he couldn't say nothing to that. So we should feel happiness when we come in contact with devotees. We should want to serve them, because devotees, they're like, if we're drowning in sea, it's like that person who saves us, a devotee, just by seeing him, just by hearing about him, just by talking to, just by serving them, it creates so much auspiciousness for us. It inspires us so much to turn to Krishna. It's like they're the mercy of Krishna. And, I'm talking about all three categories of devotees. So it's a powerful thing. It's like when we go to Vrindavan, everyone says Radhe, Radhe. Even the Muslims say Radhe, Radhe there. And we know everyone born in Vrindavan is a devotee of Krishna. They may not be following our standards, but it doesn't matter. They're born in Vrindavan and they inspire us to be Krishna conscious, and because they have a different dynamic. But we are in a society where we see devotees, and it doesn't matter if someone is not born, if it was born in a non-Indian background or born in a different religion, it does not matter. There's even animals. I've been to the Sri Rangam temple. I've seen an elephant with Vaishnava tilak, and he does his thing where he puts he gives blessings to all the pilgrims. Even devotees can be animals. So just by being in their presence, it creates auspiciousness for us. It inspires us. So it doesn't matter what their bodily condition is. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family. The Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan, they changed their religion and they became Muslims, but then they came back to Krishna consciousness. We hear, it's like someone was telling me about 10 years ago that in Moscow in Russia, there are 10,000 devotees of Krishna, not Indian devotees, white Russian devotees. That's just Moscow. What to speak of the entire Russia? Ukraine also has crazy numbers. So these people who have no connection to Vedic culture, they're becoming devotees of Krishna. And we go to Vrindavan, they do so much service there. In Mayapur, they do so much programs there. And not just that, even if you go to South America, you see some of the South Indian Latino devotees. It's like they were born in Vedic families. They're taken to it like a fish in water. It's so natural to them. And when you see them, you become so inspired. Like I remember the first time I went to the Mana, and I remember seeing this black couple with their family and kids, and I was so inspired to see that they had Vaishnava tilaks, they had Vedic dress attire, and I was thinking, I was so inspired to see this. I was thinking, these people are not doing it out of a fashion; they're doing it because they're so inspired to surrender to Krishna. They've surrendered to Krishna. So the glories of a devotee are incredible. They can transform us. They can save our lives. So, and like Prabhupada, there's to get a little bit technical, like Prabhupada talks about something called a pure devotee, and I wanted to discuss this. It's very interesting. So, there's a story where Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he asked Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in the world? So Prabhupada looked at another devotee and said, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? And that devotee said 50. So then Prabhupada looked at Tamal Krishna Maharaj and said, there are 50 pure devotees in ISKCON. So, and then, so someone may say, well, Prabhupada's being generous, he's being, he's just being sarcastic. But actually, he was being very technically correct, because what does a pure devotee mean? A pure devotee means someone who may have material desires, who may be a Kanishta Adhikari, but he has the right intention. What is the intention? That he knows just by serving Krishna, all his needs will be taken care of. And he knows, he has the 6 symptoms of surrender, one of which is that that Krishna will protect him in all, the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, it says Sarva Dharman Parichaja Ma'amekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishami Masucha. That just by surrendering to Krishna, Krishna will protect me, he will fulfill all my needs. That is the beginning of devotional service. And you may be right at the bottom, but because your intention is correct, you are considered a pure devotee. Now, there's a pure devotee and there's a perfect devotee. I'm not talking about a perfect devotee. A perfect devotee is someone who has realized who he is in the spiritual and he's living there. But I'm talking about perfect devotee. So just by surrendering Krishna, that you're a pure devotee. So Prabhupada calls that person a pure devotee. Now, imagine how much a pure devotee who is not even on that high level, how he's glorified by Srila Prabhupada. I just want to read some verses. Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm just reading from Bhagavad Gita. It says, a pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. So, someone said to me, Shruti Dharmaraja Prabhuji, our former temple president, I remember him once saying that, Krishna consciousness is like the mafia. So the mafia, when you get initiated and you join it, you can never leave because, you know too much. If you leave, you're going to get killed by mafia standards. So in Krishna consciousness, When we join Krishna consciousness, we know the truth. We know there's no happiness outside. We may bloop, but then we will come back to Krishna because we know our happiness is here. So that's a pure devotee. He knows that. Another verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, for the pure devotee of the Lord, there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than that. The Lord also does not wish to be separated from the lotus heart of those pure devotees. So how powerful is that? So it's like Krishna is he loves the devotees and the devotees love him. In fact, it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that when you get initiated by a spiritual master in the Vaishnava Parampara, you become part of Krishna's family. Krishna sees you as non-different. He actually wants you to have everything he has. He wants you to live forever. He wants you to be full of knowledge. He wants you to be full of bliss. He doesn't want you to die. He wants you to be he wants to be around you. We know that when Gopakumar in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, because he went through the different planetary systems, he went back to Goloka Vrindavan. As soon as Krishna saw him, Krishna ran to him and hugged him and said, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you for so long." So this is the greatness of a devotee. And it doesn't matter how young the devotee is or how much devotees know. That devotee is a great personality, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he said, a person who surrenders, a devotee of mine is so rare. Imagine you've gone through the material universe. You've gone through different species of life, different religious systems, you've had different experiences, and suddenly you become a devotee of Krishna. You performed one act of devotion unknowingly, and it led you to Krishna. And it's explained that Krishna consciousness is like a bud that starts to form and eventually becomes a flower that produces fruits. So you have become a flower. You have become a bud into a plant, into a flower, into fruit, amongst so many weeds. Just to make that decision is so rare. You're like, it's such a inconceivable thing to become a devotee in this material world, because this Maya is so strong. So we should never ever be offending devotees, even if they offend us. We should always be, Krishna. We should always see it from the perspective of Krishna. Krishna wanted this to happen to make us more humble, to make us more determined in our Krishna consciousness, to love Krishna more. And we should learn from a devotee. We should try to serve all devotees, because Krishna doesn't see Krishna. Because when you go back to the spiritual world, all these, Prabhupada says, everyone, Prabhupada says there's an ISKCON in the spiritual world. Everyone's going to be there. So if you don't get on with one person, then you're going to have a problem. Now, that's not to say that you will get on with everyone. You will be best friend. That's not true, because you do have your own personalities, your own natures. We know that even in Krishna Lila, we have Radharani's group and we have Chandravali's group, and they're both different natured. One's right wing, one's left wing. And we also know in the past time of Prabhupada, there was Prabhupada's godbrothers who Prabhupada didn't really get on with. He didn't agree with them. And when they passed away, Prabhupada said to his disciple, "Oh, they've gone back to Godhead." And they said, "But Prabhupada," the disciple said, "Prabhupada, how do you understand this? You didn't get on with that person. You didn't agree with him. You criticized him." And Prabhupada said, "My spiritual master loved him. So it doesn't matter whether I agree with him or not. If my spiritual master loved him, that means Krishna loved him, so he'll go back to God." And Prabhupada said there can be pure devotees. Pure devotees can have conflict of interest. They can have difference. But that doesn't mean that they're not devoted. That doesn't mean they can't go back to God. But for the mission of Krishna consciousness, we come together. So it's like an Indian family, like every Indian family has issues, like there's always arguments over money, over so many stupid petty things. Oh, he didn't invite, But when there's a wedding, when there's a funeral, you can bet your bottom dollar everyone comes together. Suddenly everyone's best friends. They're like, yeah, let's meet up, let's do this. And then when it's over, then they're back to square one, and they'll criticize each other behind each other's back. So brothers do that, and then they say it in front of their wives, the kids, but they're all, but the thing is, it's not that they don't love each other, it's that they just don't agree with each other. And then we should see it like that. But and also another principle is when we see older devotees having a disagreement and maybe even saying things that look like criticism, we, the juniors, should not get involved in that. We should stay out. That is their lila, especially when senior advanced Vaishnavas do that. We should not think we're advanced enough to get involved in that. We should always be criticism free. We should always try to remain respectful to all people, all planets. I heard in a class once from Mother Urmila that we shouldn't even criticize non-devotees, because one day they'll become a devotee and we don't know who they are in the spiritual world. They could be in a very elevated position. So everyone is if you think about it, everyone's a devotee of Krishna, even the insect, even the atheist, even the greatest warlords. They're all devotees of Krishna, because Jivara Srup Hoya Krishna Ara Nityadas. They're just covered by the material conditioning. Once they uncover that, they are devotees of Krishna, because every jiva comes from the spiritual world. We are all eternal servants, and Krishna loves all of us. And our job as devotees is to help remind people of that. Follow the example of Shukadev Goswami and the acharyas, and preach Krishna consciousness. Share this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Remind people that their real happiness is being with Krishna. So I will finish here. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for today's class, and telling us about the different types of devotees, and more than the types, the glories of the devotees, and how it is so auspicious to associate. Even the association is auspicious for us. And I really liked about the dressing, that if you are in the army and you wear the army clothes, you feel more in command, and you demand more respect. Similarly, wearing the tie, I think, thank you for emphasizing that point. That really went straight to the heart. Prabhuji, my question is, before anybody asks their questions or before they are thinking about the questions, is so the presidential seat was offered to Sukhdev Goswami. So was it predetermined that he's going to come? Because according to me, he was just passing by. Or was he invited, and was he going to be coming there to?
So I mean, from what I understand, that the Bhagavatam, all these situations where there's always a Parikshit Maharaj, there's always a Vyasadeva, there's always these personalities, these type of situations. There may be a slight variation, they always happen. Now, with Shukadev Goswami, it's explained that he was born at the age of 16 from his mother's womb, because he didn't want to leave, and he just went traveling, and he just ended up coincidentally at the place where Parikshit Maharaj was fasting. So whenever we do something in spiritual life, especially if we're surrendered by Krishna, we're guided by Krishna in the heart, and he carries that out. He also Yogamaya plays a part as well. So they're inspired by the heart to go to a certain place at a certain time. So, and you have to understand, in those times, those personalities, spiritual personalities, all those demigods, it was such a great spiritual gathering. So it's not described how the information traveled, but I would say it was such an important event that there must have been discussion, news about it. The spiritual energy that was being created by these personalities coming together, that would have also attracted Shukadev Goswami, because all spiritual personalities were coming. And also Paramatma in the heart inspired the devotee to go there and speak Bhagavatam. Now he's a fully, I explained, a perfected devotee. He's a fully perfect devotee. He's a Mahabhagavat devotee. So all of the circumstances, all the examples I gave must have been played a part in him going. But the foremost is that Krishna must have told him to go there to speak the Bhagavatam. Now it's not explained, but we have to make you could say an inference or philosophical speculation. I don't like to use the word speculation, but Prabhupada uses it, so I guess I can use it. That inspired him to come there. But yeah, I mean, if let's say Shukadev Goswami didn't come, Narada Muni was there, but Shukadev Goswami was the most qualified to speak Bhagavatam. Krishna empowered him with special knowledge, because if you think about it, even the demigods are not qualified. Even Lord Shiva is not qualified to speak about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, especially with the gopis, because it's so esoteric that there's a famous statement where someone says that, I can't remember, Lord Shiva knows, it says that Vyasadeva may not know, this person may not know, but Shukadev Goswami knows. So Shukadev Goswami was a very, very super qualified person. And because I was explaining, so he you know, as devotees, we take it that Krishna inspires us within the heart to do things, and Yoga Maya creates a circumstance for us to be somewhere. So I've always understood it that way. There may be another answer, but that satisfies me. So I would go by that. But yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or comments from the group? Hare Krishna. Let's open it up. I think everybody's satisfied with this class. It's so nectarian. It's really nectarian. And the way you explained it was so good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Arigu. Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you were saying that, you know, Shukadev Goswami must have been inspired by Paramatma, and then there was a lot of spiritual energy. And all of us feel that, you know, in the sense, like sometime or other in our life, you know, to come to Krishna consciousness in whatever way. So we get inspiration, you know, if we have the desire. Of course, Paramatma is there in the heart, and then he's also guiding us as a Chaitya Guru. So is it that, you know, it gives the direction to every one of us, whatever our desires are. I mean, especially if our desires are spiritual, and if you want to sincerely go back to home, back to Godhead, and if you want to desire spiritual life, so is guiding us in all the times, correct?
Yes.
Is my understanding correct, Prabhu?
Yeah, that's correct. So Krishna says in the Gita, he said, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Dam. He says, I give my devotees the intelligence to come to me. So Krishna, so if you have so you know, there's different types. So that's Buddhi Yoga. There's two levels of Buddhi Yoga. One level is where you accumulate spiritual knowledge based on your sincere desire, and you act in devotional service. The second level is more advanced, when you are qualified, and Krishna himself gives you the knowledge within the heart. So I remember reading about Prabhupada. He was questioned by a reporter, and the reporter says, if you want to, Prabhupada says to the reporter, because the reporter was being challenging, and he said Prabhupada said, if I want to know something, I just ask Krishna, or Krishna just tells me within the heart, you know. So obviously that's a very advanced level, but you know, the way it happens is you just get a spiritual, you know, like you may have had a desire 2 days ago, a week ago, a month ago, and somehow Krishna arranges that. Like I remember like knowing about Krishna consciousness when I became convinced, but I wasn't able to join due to whatever circumstance when I was 17. And then I remember like praying intensely, you know, I really want to come into contact with devotees, because I didn't really know there was a youth group, the Pandavasena. And then one day I was playing football with all these guys, and then after a few weeks, I saw them at a house program, because I was invited through my family, and I found that they were all devotees of Krishna. Now I had that desire that was sincere, and Krishna arranged that facility. So Krishna creates that situation. He inspires you to go somewhere unknowingly. So and there's many variations of that, but ultimately it's Krishna who creates that situation. And when you surrender to Krishna, Yoga Maya creates a circumstance for you. You know, the more advanced you are, then the more she takes control. So we should always see that our policy is that when we surrender to Krishna, it's Krishna. We use our intelligence, but it's Krishna who's guiding us. Krishna inspires us, and we pray for inspiration to do the right thing. And that can also come from reading Prabhupada's books and us hearing from devotees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Arya Govind Prabhu. Are there any other questions or comments? Prabhuji, I'd just like to share a very mundane example. Like when we were discussing how everybody from the spiritual world and everywhere else, they came and accumulated here. It's beyond our understanding that how in a short time people were coming from different places. And then I said, yeah, why not? Because I live in Kenya and we have the wildlife here. And there is a migration from Serengeti, which is in Dar es Salaam, which is in Tanzania,
Yes.
to Masai Mara, which is in Kenya. And there are herds and herds and herds of wildebeest and zebras going from one place to another. And who tells them, go
Yes,
this
yes.
way, because this is good for season and there'll be more food available here. I mean, it's been happening from generation and generation. I mean, the DNA of a wildebeest hasn't changed for probably thousands and thousands of years. The way they are made, it's the same DNA they have right now.
Yeah.
So who tells them? So I mean,
Exactly.
why are we doubting? I mean, we see these examples and we should say, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This can happen. And I mean, it happened and it's
Yes.
still happening.
Yeah,
In
no, you're
some
right.
universe or not. Yeah. But it's a very mundane example. I don't mean to say that all the Maharishis and everybody who were there were like wildebeest, but it's the drive that I
Yes.
was thinking about.
No, you're right. Actually, one of my god brothers in Hungary, he wrote a book. He's a scientist. He wrote a book saying this: who gives the animals this type of special intelligence to do things in a certain way? It's coming. It must be coming from a higher source. It's not. It's so instinctive, so natural to them. This high intelligence. I mean, they've not been educated, but they just somehow know. So that proves that there is some higher intelligence behind that. You know. So this is a good book. I don't know if I've got it here. You should definitely read it. Next time I'll find out that book and send it to you. It's a very good book. It's very accessible. But yeah, we should also understand that Krishna also inspires us. He creates the situation. You know, like I always say to my wife, whenever, you know, we're arguing about, you know, money and stuff, I said, you know, don't worry. Krishna will look after us. We have to see Krishna's arrangement in this. You know, and it's hard. I'm not saying I'm on that level perfectly, but if I know that I'm trying to practice that realization that Krishna will look after us, and I've had experiences where Krishna has looked after me, you know, and I've learned something from a situation. So we have to have this faith. The Prabhupada says a pure devotee is someone who has pure faith that Krishna will protect him and look after his needs. That's a pure devotee, and that is also a prerequisite for performing pure devotional service. So it doesn't matter if you have material desires. It doesn't matter, you know, if you don't know that much Shastra, if you're not trained, but because you have pure faith in Krishna, pure faith that Krishna will look after me, I'll just keep going along, treading along this path, then that will take care of everything. And, you know, and your needs will be looked after, definitely. I mean, if it's Krishna wants you to be rich, it's good. I was also thinking, just reminded me of the story. There was this discussion, sorry. So, you know, like Arjuna, there's a story in the Bhagavatam where Arjuna is he's escorting Krishna's Dwarka wives back to Hastinapur because Krishna's left the world. And Arjuna was the greatest at that time, the greatest archer in the world. And this bandit comes and he defeats Arjuna. And Arjuna's couldn't do anything to him. And Arjuna was like amazingly gifted. So then when he comes back to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he says, you know, this bandit defeated me and he stole Krishna's wives. I feel despondent, you know, I failed Krishna. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that Krishna gave Arjuna these emergency powers for his purpose. And when that purpose was fulfilled, Krishna took it away. There was no need for him to have it. So material acquisitions or facilities and skills, they're just there to facilitate something. The real thing is the mood. The real thing is the sincere desire to be a devotee of Krishna. So if Krishna thinks this is not good for you, he'll take it away from you. And Prabhupada says there's a verse in the Bhagavatam, I can't remember the verse, someone may know it, that when Krishna favors someone, he takes away all their material needs. And so you can surrender to Krishna. And Prabhupada happened to Prabhupada actually when his pharmacy business was destroyed. I think it was in Prayagraj, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't read Leela Amrita for a while. But yeah, so then, you know, we as devotees should train ourselves by surrendering to Krishna, because Krishna will never give you up. Krishna will always have your back. You may go through some very challenging material situations, but if you just focus on Krishna, he will protect your consciousness, because protection happens on 3 levels: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And Krishna promises your spiritual credits will always be protected. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm cognizant of the time. We don't have a lot of time. Are there any other questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, can I request Romila Mataji, is it possible for you to end this session today? Romila Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes, I'll try. Prabhuji, thank you so much for your wonderful discourse, so motivating and so much information. And just to recap on some of the points, you talked about Sukadev Goswami and how all the important sages arrive at the Ganges. And, in the presence of the spiritual master, one can overcome problems, or you talked about all the different categories of devotees had arrived, the sages and so. And excuse me, we pray to the spiritual master to help us to remove obstacles. And the spiritual master is so inspires us. He has a sort of transformative effect on us. So, the motivation we get from him to read, chant, attend the temple, associate with the devotees. And you talked about Krishna consciousness, how, compassion is shown the younger devotees, and that with pure association, we share our realizations, and this cuts our false ego. So all the people can have a younger devotee and respect that younger devotee. It's not a matter of age, So every devotee is special, and devotees come from different backgrounds, and they inspire us. You talked about the ones in different countries, Moscow, Ukraine, wherever, and how they do inspire us. And pure devotees really surrender to Krishna, and they do not forget Krishna, and Krishna does not forget his devotees. So he does not wish to be separated from his pure devotees, because that love between him and his devotees remain. So you gave the example of Sudama, how Krishna greeted him so lovingly. And you talked about Krishna consciousness, how we grow and we from a bud into a flower and a fruit. So, and conflicts, say trying to stay out of conflicts, do not get involved. And we must respect everyone. Everyone needs to be respected because, we are all jivas coming from the spiritual world. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. And if I can ask everybody to unmute and chant the Hare Krishna mantra and glories of Dharmaraja Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhyo, patitam pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
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 All
Hare
glories to Dharma Raja Prabhuji. Jai.
Oh, boy. Oh,
Jai.
boy.
Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, see you next time. Hare Krishna.